the wide receiver market exploded in ways that maybe people didn't anticipate. I think it started with Davante Adams. The Raiders traded for Davante Adams and gave him a ton of money, and people were like, "What? You can't do this. This is going to ruin the market." Like teams are going to be, but then team after team was like, "Okay, fine, that's the going rate." So now Dolphins are paying that much for Tyreek Hill, and now the Bills are gladly paying that much for Stephon Diggs. Whatever, $70 million guaranteed. Fine, that's what we got to pay for.
Yes.
So that's very interesting. Now Deebo Samuel, off of one All-Pro season, says I'm worth at least $70 million guaranteed, which leads me to my next question. Is Brandon Aiyuk one elite season away from commanding $70 million guaranteed himself?
On another team, yes. But I think he's one elite season away from being dealt. If they keep Deebo, they will not be able to sign Aiyuk if he turns out to be a better player. So what he will do is play himself out of town if he becomes that good. So not on this team. There would be no points. You can draft someone else. You can draft 2 other guys. You can bring in a free agent. You can kick the tires on a former first rounder. Something like that. I just don't think Aiyuk, if they sign Deebo, is looking at 70 million here. He'd have to have a hell of an elite season to get this kind of money, though.
It just seems like that's all it takes. If you have one, if you're an All-Pro, let's say Aiyuk's an All-Pro this year. I mean, we didn't know that Deebo had that in him. Let's say Aiyuk and Trey Lance just really have a connection. Aiyuk gets 150 targets, 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's All-Pro. Just has one great year. Seems to me he could go to the negotiating table just like Deebo and be like, "Hey, man, this is just the going rate for wide receivers right now. Either give me $30 freaking million or trade me for Is it possible that he's one elite season away from bringing the Niners back multiple first-round picks? I mean, is that how much wide receivers are going for now?
All I have to say is Davante Adams' agent did a great job. And I think every one of these wide receivers owes that guy dinner out. But as far as Aiyuk goes, if he plays that well, then the Niners are able to keep Deebo Samuel. They should just deal him. Absolutely. And if that is the going rate for the receivers, then that's what they will get. As far as me looking at Aiyuk, I feel there's always this narrative that he's not elite. And I don't always agree with it. I think he's really good. I just feel like Garoppolo is not the perfect quarterback for him. I feel like there's been inconsistency with how often he is targeted. There was the whole doghouse conspiracy and things like that. I think the Niners have managed his stock inadvertently, admittedly, but I feel like they've kept his stock pretty low. And I don't think one season will do it.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Why do you think the wide receiver market has exploded right now? What is going on? Because here, I'll lay it out for you. In the past, teams would not spend like this on wide receivers. It was quarterbacks, left tackles, and edge rushers. Those are the positions that you spend the most on. It seems like there's a new trend. There's been a paradigm shift. I have a theory. It seems to me, let's look at the Bengals. Okay, look at the Bengals. Last year, I think most people thought they should have drafted Penei Sewell because Joe Burrow had just gotten his knee destroyed. They didn't take that, though. They took Jamar Chase. A lot of people are like, really? A receiver? How's he going to get him the ball if he doesn't have time? Well, you get the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands fast. You get the ball to a playmaker like Jamar Chase, who's great with the ball in his hands. Now you go to the Super Bowl. And look at what Deebo Samuel's done for the 49ers as well. I think people are starting to see that a great wide receiver can elevate, probably is more impactful than just about anything but a quarterback.
Well, here's the thing. If they blitz you, there are less defenders downfield. And if you're like, oh my God, and you just throw the ball 3 yards through the air to your check down guy, which happens to be Deebo Samuel or Jamar Chase, it's like, I did my job as a quarterback, go do your thing. And now you have 2 less defenders to do it against.
Right.
There's a lot of obviousness that in hindsight is 2020, of course, but it's pretty damn obvious that a playmaker like Jamar Chase or Deebo Samuel elevates your quarterback when they can just flail the ball to them and they can run with it. And yes, I think you're right. I think perhaps the league realizes that. But you know what? There are good running backs that can do the same thing, receiving backs and things like that. That's why Le'Veon Bell wanted to be paid as both wide receiver and running back. So this philosophy has been applied more to the backfield, I feel. And guys like Kittle and Kelsey came along and Gronkowski and brought a little bit of that to the tight end position. But now you're starting to see some just absolutely elite people like Deebo Samuel, Jamar Chase. Yeah, I think it drives the markets up, but Devontae Adams is more of a classic wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. So I feel like he just set the bar because he is considered the number one receiver, and he went first in this whole process. So the bar started up here.
Also, though, there's like these like truisms in how to build a team, like in all sports. You know, in basketball, it used to be you have to have a center. In the NFL, it was you build through the trenches. You have to be strong in the trenches. And now I think you're seeing it's much more of a space game. It's much more of get the ball out of your quarterback's hands fast, get the ball in your hands of your playmakers. I mean, the trenches matter, but I think you're starting to see that actually a great wide receiver is I think Deebo Samuel has a bigger impact on the 49ers than Trent Williams does, and Nick Bosa, to me. Like, I can't prove it with Trent Williams, but with Nick Bosa, he missed a full year, and the Niners had a top 5 defense. The Niners would not have a top 5 offense without Deebo Samuel. No way. So
absolutely.